Hi, this is your instructor. I'm going to show you how to navigate this site. The first thing you want to do once you access the site is to download the class material. So please click on the upper left corner where it says download class material. When you click on it, you have three different things to download. The class syllabus, which indicates what we will be covering in each lecture. The class manual, which has all the material that corresponds to the lectures. And the laboratory manual, which corresponds to the laboratory practices. The laboratory manual includes scripts of the practices. They are not generally translated into the opposite language, okay? So once you finish downloading, for example, let's click here, class manual. It's going to ask you for your password. You just click on the pass on the axis to download, and you will see here, so you can see here, this is the Spanish version, this is the class manual, okay? Then once you finish with that, you can close the tab, and then it tells you to click here to go back to the previous page. Then you return to the main menu. So that's step number one. Then every time you access a class, you access, we call them lectures. It takes a little bit of about an hour or so to complete a lecture. So let's take a look at lecture one. So when you click on lecture one, it says, where would you like to go? You have two options. You can actually access the lecture, which you should first, and then the laboratory practices. You always access the lecture first. So you click on lecture one, and then you can see this is an hour and a half. So some lectures are an hour and a half, others are an hour and 15 minutes, and others are close to 2 hours. And then you click on this arrow to begin the video, okay? And then the video will begin shortly, as you can see.
Hi, my name.
If there is any issue in terms of this not being played, you can always click on the button below, and it takes you to the second server, a backup server, and that you do exactly the same thing. You click on that arrow, and the video will play. If you, for whatever reason, it still doesn't play, then what happens is that you have a problem with the internet connection. You can try again, or you can report a technical issue by clicking on the plus sign here, put your email address, send this to technical support, and indicate what the question is. But generally, if server one doesn't work and server two doesn't work, the issue is locally. It's in your computer or your connection. So let's go back to the main menu again. Then you have lecture two, okay? And then the same thing, everything is the same. But before we go to lecture two, let's say you complete lecture number one, and now you are ready to start doing laboratory practices. Those are the laboratory practices for lecture number one. So just click on lecture one again. And if you have already attended lecture one, just go to the lab practices. You can go by clicking here where it says lab practices, or on the left corner where it says lab practices. Either one works. So when you click there, you're going to see all the practices that you have to complete after you finish watching lecture one and before you begin watching lecture two. So it will be right now after you finish watching lecture one. So we have different practices at different speeds. This is basically practice 1, 2, and 3 is the same practice at three different speeds, 130, 145, 160. Then another one, and then there's a practice on criminal offenses. So if you were to look at your laboratory manual, you will be able to see these practices, the scripts of these practices, okay? Now, to practice this, you will click where it says practice 1, and it just basically, this comes out. Click on the arrow here. It tells you what to do. The instructions are
Master calendar hearing at 100
and you can hear, and you have to interpret using the simultaneous mode. The whole instructions are here. And although the practice is 2 minutes and 38 seconds, to complete all the steps below, it could take you up to 3 hours. And that's why this is what is indicated here. Well, if you're doing a practice and you want to ask a question, you just click on this plus sign and then put your email address and then put the recipient. In this case, it's probably your instructor, and then the question, and then submit, okay? Going back now to the main menu, let's look again at lecture one. So if you go to lecture number one, we did that already. You could also ask questions by clicking here, and you will see here the option for you to put your email address and also where that question should be sent to. And the question should be below, and then you submit it, okay? The same thing is for lecture 2, 3, and 4. Now, you are supposed to complete this particular training program within 17 calendar days. And then you're supposed to schedule the exam for the next 7 calendar days. So that means that by lecture number 4, once you complete lecture number 4, you pretty much will have an idea on when to finish lecture 5 and 6, probably in 4 or 5 days. And maybe you want to take another 6 days to review everything. So if it's 4 days and then 6, so you know that about 10 days from today, you will want to schedule the final examination for that date. So I suggest you do schedule it between lecture 4 and 5, just to make sure you have slots. We have plenty of slots, but just in case. Let's say, for example, that I completed the first 4 lectures. I still have about 4 more days to complete lecture 5 and 6. That's what I estimate. And I want to review this for another 6 days, do a general review. So I will schedule this 10 days from today. So you click on schedule final exam, and then you select the time. This is all Pacific time, but you can change it to your time, wherever you are, Eastern time, and it's going to change the time as well. So it's up to you. It most likely will show Pacific time as a default, but you can change the times, okay? And then you will select, today is, let's say, November 3rd. So you want maybe November 13, and then you select the time that you want. You see how many times we have. So you have a lot of slots. They are not available the day before generally. So you will click here, click on continue, input your first name, your last name, your cell phone so that you can get a text with a reminder, your email. And then you have to tell me what language. So if you are interpreting into Spanish, then it will be Spanish. If it's Mandarin, it will be Mandarin. If you are an indigenous language, then it will be indigenous language. If you were assigned a language neutral class, then it will be language neutral. That's going to be pretty clear based on the language that you select. If you selected language neutral, sometimes you're assigned the language neutral class, then you have to indicate into what language or dialect you are interpreting. So it could be if the language is not listed here, it's probably language neutral. So if you have another language, whatever language it is, even though this is a language neutral course, you have to indicate here the language neutral, in what direction you're interpreting. Because although the course is language neutral, when we grade you, we're going to grade you into the language that you are going to interpret into. So that's the point. And if you want to write any comments, you can write any comments. And then you just click here to complete the appointment. I'm certainly not going to do this, otherwise I take that slot. Once you do that, then you complete lecture 5, lecture 6. Here, you can always access the online lab here by going to each lecture. But this last one that says online lab has all the weeks together. So this is a good link. Once you complete the lecture and you're in kind of the review mode, getting ready for your exam. So you just go to all the lectures. These are all the practices in your laboratory. They are assigned by lecture, but of course they are all together here. So this is a pretty good way to practice once you have completed all the 6 lectures, okay? And then finally, you have technical support. You can actually, if it's online, all you do is you just click here, which right now it is online, and you'll be able to see the technical support available for you. If it says offline, then you're going to have the ability to send an email, at which point you're going to see, as you did before, there's a plus sign here, and you go, or sometimes it actually populates below, and you can actually ask a question, technical question, by email. We're online only during the office hours, and not always guaranteed that we're going to be online during the office hours. Sometimes they have meetings and they're not available, but you can always send the email and that will be responded within up to 72 hours. But we are pretty good at responding that within 48, but we have to tell you that up to 72, just in case. So we'll return to the main menu, and that's basically it. This can be, obviously, this part here is the video that you're watching. You can minimize it if you like. Last information, I should say, let's look at the laboratory manual so you can see what's in the laboratory manual. You can put your password. And when you go to the laboratory manual, you basically have, this is for Spanish, so you basically have the scripts, all the scripts of the practices. So you see these are all the practices, and you can see the script of each practice. You'll notice that they are not translated. The reason why they are not translated is because this material has been covered in the class. So you're supposed to understand what's going on in the class, make sure you know your terminology, and then come to the laboratory to do these practices. Keep in mind that this class is designed for people that have 1 year experience in the legal field. So don't cover all the legal terminology. We cover some of the legal terms, but the assumption is that you already know that because you have 1 year interpreting in the legal field. So the material is it's concentrates on immigration terminology with some legal as well, with the assumption that you have 1 year experience in the interpreting or in the legal field in terms of vocabulary. So having said that, I hope you enjoyed this course. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email. Thank you.